Welcome to another episode of Tech Talks. If you're tuning in for the first time, Tech Talks is a program produced by PwC's Women in Technology, bringing you panel discussions on technology topics that are relevant to the business community. I'm Mitra Best, PwC's first ever technology partner. In my current role as the Technology Impact Leader, I oversee our efforts to leverage technology specifically to address societal and environmental challenges at scale. In other words, tech for good. I'm also honored to continue leading our Women in Technology community and pleased to be back with you today. I'm particularly excited to kick off a panel discussion by our PwC AWS Cloud team, who will share examples, real-life examples, of how PwC leverages AWS Cloud to help our clients transform their organizations responsibly. We'll hear about how to manage the ever-changing cybersecurity regulatory landscape, to how smart everything is changing every industry and doing it all in a sustainable way. Without further ado, I'll pass the mic to Kary Myers, who will moderate our panel today. Kary, take it away.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kary Myers. I am the AWS Practice Director here at PwC. As a relatively new practice in PwC, we are building and maturing our AWS capabilities and offerings. I am honored to be here today moderating this panel of amazing women in tech. Now let's meet our panelists for today. First, I'd like to introduce you to Yvette Schmitter. Yvette is a principal in our AWS practice, focusing on both ESG and finance. Yvette?
Hi, everyone. I'm Yvette Schmitter. I'm known for leveraging artificial intelligence, machine learning to build models ranging from saving lives to building a more sustainable world. Needless to say, I've been in technology and cloud for longer than I want to admit, but I'm super honored to be here today with this amazing group of women in technology.
Thanks, Yvette. Next, I will introduce Janine Corey, who is also a principal in our practice, focusing on automotive and FinOps. Janine?
It's so good to be here with all of you. I'm Janine Corey, and I'm passionate about how technology advances like cloud and AI, IoT and 5G, smart and connected everything, all act together to both disrupt and empower industries, organizations, and individuals. And they can also drive new business opportunities and sometimes provide ways that we can make the world a little better place.
So glad you are here with us, Janine. Next, we have Lindsay Turley. Lindsay is a gifted cloud-native UI/UX designer. Lindsay?
Hi, I'm Lindsay Turley. I lead our transformation and modernization projects from a customer experience perspective. For over a decade, I've led enterprise businesses from initial concept to launch, leveraging leading user-centered design practices.
Great to have you here, Lindsay. Finally, I will introduce you to Chloe Ko, who has experience in both tech consulting and risk assurance. Chloe?
Hi, everyone. I'm Chloe Ko, and I'm really excited to be here today. Having a background in both technology and trust, I provide solutions to help clients meet the regulatory requirements when they move to the cloud environments. One hot topic that brings tech and regulations together is ESG. And currently, I am a solution owner working with Yvette on a very exciting ESG project.
Thanks, Chloe. We will be diving into ESG some more today. The women on this panel today represent a wide range of technical acumen across many AWS services. Their experience is both diverse and deep. The first topic we're covering today is ESG. ESG stands for Environmental, Social, and Governance. It is the guidelines and efforts around sustainability and being a good actor for businesses today. This matters because there is a great deal of emphasis on the responsibility of companies to contribute and make a positive impact on our Earth. It was reported in the PwC ESG survey that 60% of the world's largest public companies have set commitments to net zero greenhouse gas emissions. How is technology enabling sustainability in the marketplace? Yvette, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this.
Yeah, Kary, this is a super important topic. Technology leaders have a significant role to play in turning climate ambitions into reality. Just from a numbers perspective, McKinsey reported that enterprise technology generates a significant amount of emissions, which account for approximately 1% of total global greenhouse gases. To put that into perspective, that equals half of the emissions from aviation, and is actually the equivalent to the total carbon emitted by the United Kingdom. Technology plays a key role in delivering on cutting carbon emission goals, and the challenge IT leaders face is to reduce IT's carbon footprint, all the while delivering high quality, low cost technology services to its customers and employees. But there are a few ways organizations can use technology and analytics to cut emissions. One, by improving operational effectiveness through automation. Two, replacing and/or shifting emission-generating activities to cleaner alternatives. And three, offsetting by purchased carbon credits to compensate for unabated emissions. Technology and data architecture can also have a significant contribution to the operational greenhouse gas footprint, from planning for a digital workforce, mapping and actively monitoring energy use of systems and infrastructure, to establishing new technology capabilities to support delivery of an organization's net zero ambition. More importantly, we need to think of ways to incorporate net zero and decarbonization benefits into large-scale transformation. For example, does this tech upgrade have capability to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and improve data? Can you include net zero performance as a key design principle in your cloud architectures alongside resilience and cost savings? Being able to address climate change and enable companies to do their part to reduce their carbon emissions is not only fulfilling, but an honor.
Those are great points, Yvette, about what IT itself contributes to greenhouse gas emissions, and what IT can do to fix it, and how they enable businesses to deliver on their net zero commitments. I'd also like to take a couple of concrete examples of the ways in which I've seen some of the new net zero commitments and ESG reporting requirements, like the ones we see in Germany and California, which have new mandates around greenhouse gas emissions and ESG reporting. They're starting as early as January of 2023 in Germany, and some of which are already in place, but in 2025 they're going to increase in California in particular, and how those things influence our clients' needs for our services as PwC. PwC has such a great reputation in the marketplace for trust, including governance, reporting, and compliance. And some of these new European, some of the US via the SEC requirements, and some of the state-specific requirements for greenhouse gas emission and ESG reporting are affecting our clients right now and in the very near term. There's been an uptick in customers asking us how we can help them to deliver trustworthy, transparent, and thorough ESG-related reports. The California reporting requirement applies to any U.S. company with more than $1 billion in revenue that does business in the state of California. Think of how many technology, media, telco, and automotive customers that would impact, and how close 2025 is to right now. We're talking 26 months away. These German and California requirements include the requirement to report on all greenhouse gas emissions from those big companies' supply chain. That's considered scope 3, with sometimes tens of thousands of suppliers. And that is a big data scenario that requires cloud, data collection, data quality and analytics, plus dashboards and tools so that we can help those customers meet some of those new requirements.
It is not surprising that digital is right in the middle of sustainability. Speaking of dashboards and tools that provide insight into sustainability, I'd like to ask Lindsay, what can companies do to leverage the fact that more and more of their workforce is transforming and scaling into this digital world?
Well, Kary, there's a lot to consider as this happens. From a UI UX perspective, our team would leverage any opportunity to consolidate, streamline, and further automate existing processes. This can be done with a single experience layer in our application modernization projects. Say a large business is tapping into cutting emissions via cleaner and automated technology services. This could mean different parts of their business are in disparate or siloed tools. Leveraging AWS technologies combined with designing and building an interface that considers users' direct needs, we are able to build API integration layers that bring these tools together, providing valuable role-driven dashboards and actionable insights upon a user's login, like Janine touched on. This means that while a business is trying to move into a more digital world, our teams can help them navigate that journey and solve complex problems that their employees and external customers are facing today.
Usability really is integral to digital being fully utilized. I'm sure others can sympathize with poor usability being a hindrance to accessing technology. Now we'll segue to an industry where the user is front and center in its advancements, and that's the automotive industry. Janine, you recently attended the AWS Automotive Industry Summit. Can you tell us 2 takeaways from that summit on how cloud and digital is enabling the automotive industry?
I just have to say, wow, after that AWS Auto Accelerate Summit in Boston. Number one, the customers. I was so inspired by the keynotes from some of our major clients as they talked about their strategic and immediate goals. Our automotive clients are pursuing strategies for their cars and trucks and manufacturing that are sustainable, data-driven, connected and smart, with bar-raising customer and driver experiences. And they're using software, cloud, and innovation to drive that strategy. From an AWS perspective, they're adopting AWS services in a whole range of ways, from smart manufacturing, edge computing and 5G, AI and ML, Alexa for auto, IoT for fleet, and so many other services. And number two, I was inspired by AWS's belief in the automotive segment, which they said is the fastest growing industry segment at AWS right now. They've fully organized a full global automotive and manufacturing segment under a new GM, Wendy Bauer, who's a truly inspiring woman in tech. That new auto organization is aware that digital transformation that the auto industry requires is going to take the full collaboration of all the players, from cloud teams to partners to the full ecosystem of vendors. And they invited us all to Boston to get started getting to know each other and innovating and collaborating together. Lindsay, several of the speakers talked about the goal of creating digital car interiors and fully integrated driver experiences. They were saying they can't do it without collaboration from some of the cloud providers and us. What do you think some of the opportunities might be for UI and UX for us in particular as PwC in automotive?
There are so many opportunities based on your takeaways, Janine. The first I can think of potentially depends on either the driver's phone being that smart engine as you plug into your car, or utilizing software specifically built for the vehicle. Either way, that makes me consider Amazon Personalize. This is an AWS service that can drive more digital enablement. Typically today, it is used to personalize product results during shopping experiences, but can help determine what a user interacts with on their car's dashboard every time they drive, like giving suggestions on where to go based on data in that moment or based on the driver's history. Either way, this is a whole new world for designers to further explore and provide better experiences in the automotive industry.
The sky really is the limit when it comes to cloud technology in the automotive industry. Chloe, following up from Janine's point on technology disrupting the automotive industry and the impacts on security, can you tell us how China's new cybersecurity laws are impacting cloud adoption, cloud strategy, and companies operating in China?
Yeah, of course, Kary. So, over the past 5 years, the Chinese government launched some significant regulatory activities related to cybersecurity and data sovereignty. As such, for our clients who have subsidiaries in China or interested in growing and winning in the China market, it's necessary to adapt those laws and regulations to ensure proper compliance, protect IP and employees, and enable business functionalities. So, taking the automotive industry Janine mentioned as an example, A self-driving car company collects data in a vehicle right from the chip and a firmware to the subscription services, then to those high-end geographic information, videos, audios, traffic flow, and so on and so forth. Guess what? A lot of the data can be classified as sensitive or important. In order to better manage the data from a security purposes, the regulations prevents the data going out or storing outside of the country, and some very sensitive data are not even allowed to going out that specific vehicle itself. And that requires the company to either localize all the related system and applications, to localize some targeted instance, or to reshape their business processes inside the country based on their risk tolerance. And that also means clients may need to build things differently, to house things differently, and to sell things differently than they normally would in other markets. So some questions raised like, what kind of cloud environment for updating the cars or subscription services are out there in the local markets? Do they have to completely rebuild the cloud environment from scratch? Or how do you find a way to have the data in China talking to the data from the rest of the world? So those are some sample questions we need to think about carefully when talking about how the new regulations are impacting the cloud adoption and business operations in China.
I completely agree with you, Chloe. I've met recently with a lot of companies that are creating products that they intend to distribute internationally and in many regions, not just in China, all of which have some pretty strict data sovereignty and security laws. I was talking to a CEO recently who leads a company that performs system-wide updates to car operating systems and collects data in China and a lot of other countries. He talked about the way that cloud architectures should have policy rules that they can inherit based on geolocation. And he talked about the need to separate driver data from car and location data in order to comply with various countries' privacy protection laws. We have an important role that we can play in how we help companies to plan for and architect their products to be flexible enough that they can build one product, but they're able to pull down various policies that impact the way that the data flows and where and how it's stored in order to comply with some complex and dynamically changing security and privacy laws.
Data really is the core and lifeblood of the solutions we develop. These cybersecurity laws indicate just how impactful data is. It drives the ability for solutions to be smarter, but it also runs the risk of vulnerabilities. This is a challenge that will only continue to grow. Speaking of leveraging data in cloud development, we hear a lot about smart everything. Smart cars, smart manufacturing, smart phones. Yvette, what does the move to smart everything mean for our clients?
That's right, Kary. You know what they say, data is the new oil. There's so much more to smart technology than increasing productivity and gaining insights to personalize products for consumers. Smart technology has a significant role to play in enabling a more sustainable, equitable world, from enabling gender equality, improving water and sanitation, and providing affordable and clean energy. A recent report from the U.S. Department of State around inclusive technology and the gender divide reports that over 250 million fewer women are online than men. Information and communication technologies can provide great opportunities for gender equality by enabling everyone to have access to the same online resources, as well as provide women's economic empowerment by creating business and employment opportunities for women, as well as owners of projects based in smart technology. As it relates to water and sanitation, there are more than 800,000 deaths per year caused by unsafe water and poor sanitation, as reported by the United Nations Global Impact Organization. Smart water management measurements and the monitoring of water supplies, as well as the necessary interventions and enabling practitioners at the local level to confirm the equitable and sustainable extension of water, sanitation, and hygiene services. And for affordable and clean energy, smart technology is connected by the greening of information and communication technologies. For example, smart grids, smart buildings, smart logistics, and industrial processes all are helping to transform the world towards a more sustainable and energy-saving future. These green technologies and processes have the potential to play a significant role in reducing emissions. So from my perspective, by helping our customers, we are also helping create a more equitable and sustainable world for everyone.
I love that, Yvette. Your perspective makes me realize how important it is to keep in mind how smart everything impacts the experience of customers. Based on our PwC Cloud Business Survey, 29% of companies want to create better experiences in the cloud, but only 12% are tapping into that potential. That's why our cloud and digital experience design team aims to approach every project with a focus on end users, backed by the technology that makes these smart services happen. Our UX team leads an overarching approach from initial discovery through implementation. There are 3 significant areas in this process that can address the user's needs. One is by identifying key persona groups that are impacted and focusing on their biggest challenges. Another is having individuals walk through a typical day in the life in their current tools. These days we do this remotely. Seeing what steps are frustrating, manual, or repetitive, and then once the future state UI is farther along, doing usability testing. This can be extremely telling of how real end users react to the improved design. It can reveal patterns where there were issues that need to be fixed, and also validate that other features were successful.
Wow, technology seems to be going faster than the speed of light these days. This wraps up our final panelist question for today. I want to thank each and every one of these women who joined us today. Yvette, Janine, Lindsay, and Chloe. You shared your passion, and your enthusiasm for tech is contagious. Hello, we will now open it up for questions from the audience. For Q&A, please welcome another great woman in tech, Kiara Werner. Kiara is the Product and Data Science Lead in the Technology Impact Office. She has been behind the scenes bringing this tech talk to life. Kiara?
Thank you so much, Kary. It was an honor organizing this tech talk, and what a great panel so far. Lots of insights to take away, and especially the importance for cloud when it helps to tackle climate change. That really resonated with me. I can't wait to learn more going into our Q&A section. Looks like the audience actually already has some great questions for us. So our first question is for Yvette and Janine. What can we do as PwCers to be champions for more women in tech? Yvette, do you want to go first?
Sure. The best thing for everyone to do, and my recommendation is to always ask who's not in the room, who's not around the table, who's not on the team. So it's just not about adding more women in tech. It's about adding everyone that needs to be in tech to get that diverse view. That would be my recommendation.
Thank you so much. You can also check out our Women in Tech microsite, which gives you an overview of all the programs that you can get involved with, and also outlist, for example, this Tech Talk series. This is just one out of many events that we are hosting going forward. Next, Kary, do you want to introduce our second question for today?
Sure. This one is for Lindsay. Lindsay, you talked about these role-based dashboards that you've worked on. What kinds of projects have they been, if you don't mind elaborating a little bit?
Yeah, sure. I can talk about it. So I have worked on projects in a variety of industries, medical, financial, telecom, and in that world, specifically things like order management or access management or population health. So even though it's spanning a wide range of types of actions someone would need to do or type of data that would need to be presented to users,
I think the key thing is understanding the types of projects we would do in cloud and digital in our AWS practice is taking the opportunity to bring together tools into one interface. So a lot of times we'll have a customer that has actions that are done in 4 separate tools, say requesting access. And that could be because they scaled, they've grown, they're at a really large size of employees. So over time, they found themselves needing something across a range of various applications. So what we've done is using a third-party vendor that has sort of a headless experience on top, we're able to customize that top UI layer to bring in the nuances of how to request access to a variety of different tools in those 4 separate apps, all in one place. So essentially cutting down the time it takes to request access in 4 different places, along with approving access in 4 different places, all in one place. That really enables faster turnaround times, more opportunities for employees to do what they need to do to benefit the needs of the company and the goals that they have. And then improving even beyond that. So taking down the steps that are taken from, say, 22 steps to request access down to 9 steps. So those are the types of things as an experienced designer we're trying to do in our cloud projects as these customers are evolving. So that's an example.
I love it. Thank you so much, Lindsay, for elaborating. We have another great question coming in for Yvette. Yvette, can you elaborate a little bit on the resources that people can leverage when they want to learn more about ESG and sustainability and what to consider here?
Yeah, I would love to. This is one of my sweet spots. So the firm has a practice called ESG. They also have an intranet site that has a cornucopia of information about what is ESG, what PwC's goals are around ESG, how we're attaining them, what you can do as a PwCer around ESG, training that's on Vantage that you can take around ESG. So I'll make sure that Kiara sends out the link so that you can go and check out that site because you can be in there for days. It's great.
We'll definitely make sure to send that out. And thanks so much. There's also great Vantage courses that I've already been taking that are really, that really blew my mind and fostered knowledge.
Yeah, I've been delving into ESG too, and really am amazed at how much is out there on PwC sites and how everybody's getting involved. The next question we have coming in, it looks like it would be for Chloe. Chloe, can you dive a little deeper and talk about the new Chinese cyber laws that you're working with?
Yeah, definitely. So there are 4 laws and regulation were launched since 2017. The China cybersecurity law, which is also called it as CSL, that is a very broad law covering the cybersecurity capabilities, also some operating guidelines and audit requirements need a lot of interpretations. The multi-layer protection scheme is a certification framework for compliance with the CSL provisions on a system level basis. Then a data security law, the DSL, that is a law that sets the global governance requirements for Chinese data and also the cross-border transfer. And also like the one we've been working on, the law we are focusing on right now is called Personal Information Protection Law, which is the PIPL. It lays out additional requirements and enforcement, the mechanism for personal data and also the cross-border transformation. So any application are housing more than 100 Ks need to be localized, if I remember that correctly. So case-by-case basis, we're helping the clients picking the best strategies. So like to localize or to refactorings or direct connect on the cross-border data transfer. So in China, we also even helping them to build an entire operation centers if it's needed. So I hope that answered the questions.
Absolutely. And thanks for your knowledge on it. We know who to come to when we have questions.
Totally. No, it was like so interesting learning more. Thank you, Chloe, for giving some more insights. The next question goes to Janine. Janine, can you talk a little bit about your experience being a woman in cloud and challenges you faced, and what your advice would be for women that want to break into cloud?
Wow, what an interesting question. Thank you for asking me that. I guess the advice I would give is get a broad base of experience. The more I deal with customers who are adopting cloud, the more I realize that it's a multi-pronged environment, right? So it used to just be sort of app design and development and architecture, but now it's also finance, FinOps, security, deployments, internationalization, regulatory and cyber environments. So working on your ability to partner effectively. None of us can know everything. That's the one thing I've learned, right? Many years at AWS, and I worked under 4 different groups. One thing I learned clearly was you need a team to go in with you. You need great designers, you need great security people, you need great finance people. And so include them, partner with them, understand well what you know and what you don't know, and always reach out to others to go in together.
Thanks for that,
really
Janine.
great advice. Sorry, go ahead, Kary.
It's okay. We appreciate your experience and your insight. The next question that we have that came in is, I think Lindsay would be best to answer this one because you touched on it in what you were talking about. Can you talk a little bit more about how API integrations work and what they are?
Sure. Yeah, so APIs essentially stand for application integrations, and it's something that AWS provides through like a suite of services. And it allows, when you're building and modernizing tools or systems or applications or much farther beyond, to prevent from having to build a lot of custom code. So taking data from serverless applications and bringing it together into one place. That's like the really high level view of what they essentially do. And there's a lot of great information about them on the AWS website. And there's case studies and things like that that both we've done and through Amazon. So yeah. Oh, and just to touch a little bit on that previous question about cloud and women in cloud. Personally, I found myself in this world because I had that beginning foundation of web design, and it slowly trickled into application design and things like that, like Janine said. And I don't have a lot of experience with specifically cloud technologies or developing in the cloud or anything like that. But over the years, the more I've absorbed, the more I've realized that I know way more than I realize. And I've been able to become cloud practitioner certified because I realized that there's a lot of foundational elements to it that are brought to the table through our projects, whether they're tech projects or not. And it's really, really interesting. It makes me feel like anyone can do it. You don't have to have a really strong background in a specific area. It's sort of like touching a few areas, like what Janine said really resonated with me. So I just wanted to bring that up as something where I feel like anyone can do it. And I'd like to see more women doing it, and taking that even further, more women in leadership roles in cloud technology and all of that. So that's one thing. I don't know if any of you want to touch on it too. I see Yvette.
Yeah. Thank you, Lindsay. I mean, what I want to impress upon everyone is that you don't have to be a coder to work in technology. And I think a lot of people have this misnomer that I have to have a computer science degree or a master's in electronical, mechanical, biomechanical engineering in order to work in technology. And that is the furthest from the truth. We need project managers, portfolio managers. We need Scrum leaders. We need people that can have that uncanny ability to bridge the communication between business and technology. That doesn't mean that you have to code in Python. I mean, I can code in Python, but the question is, do you really want me to? I mean, and the question, and I know, right? So you don't really have to have a degree in technology or in computer science to work in tech. There's so much opportunity in tech that I really encourage you to dip your toes in. The water's warm. Come on over.
Yvette, I think too, we're missing a little bit the fact that that cloud just doesn't have near enough women in it. And I spent a lot of time when I was at AWS educating finance people on what they need to know about cloud, right? What's transformative in finance about cloud operations? What's transformative around legal, intellectual property, placement of intellectual property? What's different for product owners in that there's all these plug and play feature sets that you can add to your products that are already built in the cloud once you get into that ecosystem. So thinking about cloud broadly around how an entire company transforms to adopt cloud, and what is it that you need to know about cloud that changes your product mindset, your finance mindset, your profitability mindset, your internationalization mindset. And we need more women. I was often, as probably many of you are, the only women in the room, and in cloud and in infrastructure in general, it's worse than in a lot of other situations. So exactly, dive in, learn what you need to know, and understand that it impacts every role, not just technology or coding roles.
Thank you, ladies. And I think I speak for everybody on the panel that we welcome anybody to reach out to us after this. And we can share, we can, help promote if you have any questions at all about our journeys in the cloud.
I'm loving this.
Yeah.
Like, totally, please take Kary and all our amazing panelists up on this offer. And then next, we have a question for Janine. Bai wants to know what tools, it's a little bit more technical question. So what tools does AWS leverage to develop products that are deployed around the world to stay compliant in specific countries? Kind of goes back to what Chloe was talking about with the laws in China and just making sure the infrastructure is really compliant.
And yeah, there's a whole suite of sort of services that are applicable in that case. In some cases, for internationalization, moving to a container-based application architecture can be important, because you may want to look at different kinds of infrastructure in other countries. So AWS has a really broad footprint all around the globe. But for some countries that have data sovereignty laws, and there aren't Amazon or AWS data centers present or local enough, you might want to look at outposts, or there's some new offerings they've got called Wavelengths, which offers 5G via telecoms. That allow telcos to put AWS infrastructure in for localizing of data for mobile and other kind of 5G connected application deployments. And then some of the other things you might want to look at is AWS policies and the ability to inherit policies based on geolocation, which can allow you to create an entire portfolio of policies that are compliant with different countries, realizing that, for example, people's cell phones or cars may cross country boundaries often, and you want to be compliant with the country in which that person is residing at that point. And so being able to create flexible applications and flexible architectures, containers, because they can be deployed across on-prem, local, or even multi-cloud environments if you need to do that for internationalization. So those are some of the things I can think of off the top of my head that might be important in terms of AWS tools for internationalization, localization, and compliance.
Awesome. Thanks, Janine. I know that over the years, When you go out to look at the list of services on AWS's website, it used to fit on one page. Now, when you go out there, it has to be broken down into categories to get to all the services. So if you think of something you want to do, likely AWS has a service that can accomplish that.
I didn't even touch on some of the AI and ML stuff too, right? So for a lot of things too, you want to run your machine learning locally because cities are so different and the way that they're laid out is so different, right? And so being able to have that kind of compute power to train models, but be able to have it locally on locally stored data for those countries where you can't move the data in and out, that can be another important aspect to having the really large compute capacity that you get in the cloud, but be able to run it locally to get better insights into how things work. Just given, as you all know, the terrain differences, the driving pattern differences, and all kinds of other local data that you might want to train models on. So there's also a whole suite of AI and ML tools, all of which can be deployed locally against local data for internationalization. So those are some other fun things that exist that should be thought through.
Yep, and cloud can be fun too, right? It's not just work.
Mm-hmm.
Going on to our next question that came in, it asks, how does AWS tie into platforms like SAP or Oracle? I'll kick off what I know, and then I'd pass it to Yvette for any other information. But as people know, the practices for SAP and Oracle at PwC are very strong practices. We have a plethora of SAP and Oracle implementations, and AWS aligns with them because you can implement and use AWS's infrastructure to host those SAP and Oracle. And the AWS practice works with the SAP and Oracle practices to help build out infrastructure for those systems. And that's kind of how we offer, we go to market together with these combined offerings. And we also can work on integrations into other systems and do kind of the pipelines and the API work for any connections between other systems and those. So AWS is really the platform that hosts those and can be the infrastructure around those systems. And PwC does an excellent job of implementing and transforming business with SAP and Oracle. Yvette, did you have anything else to add around SAP and Oracle?
Yeah, I guess the only thing that I would add is that in addition to everything that you mentioned, Kary, it's that AWS as a cloud provider can literally host just about everything, not just Oracle, SAP, but Salesforce, other ERP systems. It is literally the super highway of getting your organization to become highly resilient, very flexible, and be able to innovate fast. And so I would like for everyone to think about the cloud as literally an enabler for you to do things faster, cheaper, and be able to innovate to be a market leader. So instead of waiting for a server for 6 to 9 months, you literally can spin something up in minutes, test it, see if it works, and move it to production around the world within an hour. And if just imagine the amount of productivity that you have in that instance, instead of waiting, you have resources that are highly skilled, highly qualified, probably tons of degrees, not waiting around for a server. They're actually doing the things that they are really good at doing, which is creating, innovating, and driving technology to the next step.
And can I add one other thing too? That's a great point, Yvette, and yours also, Kary. One of the other things that I found is that, SAP and Oracle are often systems of record for a lot of the company's finance, supply chain, manufacturing operations. And so if you want to create data lakes and run AI, ML, and analytics against it, having that data already in the cloud means that you don't pay any ingress or egress fees. You don't have to move the data across the public internet. You can simply rehost it into a data lake and run all those analytics against it to do things like de-risking your supply chain or Carbon Link for decarbonization initiatives. And so the ability to pull that data from out of all of those systems of record, business systems, platform them into a really efficient AI, ML, or analytics platform, dissolve it and not pay for it anymore once you've gotten the insights you want. All that's available to you because of that larger AWS ecosystem, besides just the platforming of SAP and Oracle onto AWS infrastructure.
Well, one other thing I want to add for people to think about, we all are kind of coming out of a pandemic. Just imagine how other pharma companies were able to process thousands and thousands of data to be able to come up and synthesize a vaccine in a short amount of time. I'm telling you, they didn't put a PO in for a server. They did all that on the cloud. So just think about that. The high compute power that we're able to provide via the cloud enables us to do things that we think might be impossible. So think about that. Hospitals running genomes, right? NASA running data back from the Hubble telescope. These are all things that are not sitting on a server that someone had to make a purchase order for. These are things that are running in the cloud. So it's just not, the boring stuff, I would say, like the business stuff. It is literally, it is sci-fi, it is NASA, it is healthcare, it is cutting edge technology that not only takes the world to the next step, but actually saves lives. So it's a really cool thing.
Thank you both for your input, and I'll turn it back over to Kiara.
Yeah, thank you so much. We have another great question coming in. And Kim wants to know, I mean, it sounds like a no-brainer, right? The companies should be all moving into the cloud. So the question actually is, what could possibly prevent a company jumping in to adopt the cloud? Can you give some examples and how you tackle that? Maybe Janine wants to kick us off and then pass it around.
Yeah, so I would say that a lot of the blockers come from executive sponsors who are very pro going to the cloud, and they understand why they want to do it from a technology standpoint, but having other executive peers who don't understand the implications of the cloud, maybe finance, maybe security, maybe operations, and the sort of fear of that change. So one of the key things that we found to helping customers really understand how to adopt the cloud was letting each one of those executives who all have to sort of row together to get to the cloud, understand what their gaps are, and providing those executive stakeholders who have equal amounts of power, providing them with the knowledge, the tools, the dashboards they needed to also do their business better in the cloud. And once you could get that executive alignment, once you could get those people working together and talking together and get them to stop blocking one another, that's when cloud adoption really sort of hits its high speed. What I've really found is that it starts with executive alignment. It starts with everybody understanding how it's going to impact them and getting familiar, getting the right training in place so that they all work towards the same goal.
And I think there's a lot of misconceptions too that I've encountered where there's this assumption that it's really expensive because it can do so much, but it's not secure, but it's quite literally the opposite. It saves so much money to make that move, and it creates so much security that I realized on a monthly basis, and all of the ways that it's continuously improving. And like we said, the services are just coming in, and they will continue to expand upon that portfolio. But I don't know if any of you have more insight on that.
Yes. So, I would say that it's fear-based. People don't think, leaders don't think that the cloud is secure, right? And most of them think cloud, they think, oh, Dropbox, right? They think of, PayPal, Venmo.
Or Apple Cloud.
They're not really thinking how it could apply to them. And they're hearing, all the headlines about breaches and data. And so they're literally paralyzed by fear. So I would say that's one. And so then you have someone like myself or Janine, we come in with a gaggle of people, and we help dispel their fears with facts, right? Because feelings are not facts. So we help them dispel their fears with facts. And the other thing that I love doing is creating like a CEO cloud dream team. I call it like a cloud dream team because the CEO, CIO, CTO can't be the only ones that understand the cloud and want to move to the cloud, as Janine mentioned. Like the full suite, the full CXO, all the leadership needs to understand at least the fundamentals, like what's S3? What's the difference between object and block storage? Like some of the simple stuff. We're not saying we're expecting you to go out there and become a solution architect or, you know, get a specialty certification in networking and data and analytics. We're just saying we need you to just raise your game just a little bit to understand the cloud fundamentals, because once you understand the fundamentals and you surround yourself with people who are really, really savvy and understand how it works, you become an educated leader that can drive your business to success. And that's the key. And I think most people are just, they get stuck on that, right? And I'm known for pushing people out of their comfort zones because it's fun. But also it gets them to the point where it's like, wow, why didn't I do that sooner? It's just a different way to think of it. You know, the cloud is not Dropbox, people. It's something way bigger.
Right.
I
And
love
there's some scenarios. Sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say too, and Chloe, I'll just take a second, which is that helping customers come up with business objectives that are no regrets business objectives, and then showing them all how they can achieve that via the cloud. So how finance can still keep financial control, how they can manage costs to be more profitable, how they can all realize their own vision of their own personal objectives via some cloud implementation. So I think too, there's the technology of the cloud, but then there's also the business outcomes of the cloud. And the more we can frame it in terms of those outcomes, the easier it is to get the sort of C-suite sponsors to all get behind it. Chloe?
Yeah, I totally agree. And there's like some couple scenarios that I've seen when I'm working is like about compliance and regulations. Like some certain data has to be staying in the private cloud, or like some people like shouldn't have access to it at all. So like that makes a lot of company or like a lot of leadership thinking like, okay, never mind, I'm not going to cloud in this way. But it's actually not. Like with like also like PwC, we're helping them like for them like to success in cloud complying those regulations and compliance. So with that, I think like they should go to cloud.
Definitely.
I love it. Thank you so much for sharing all those success strategies. I think now hopefully everyone can sell the cloud and combat any challenges and argue their way to a cloud future. And with that, we are actually at the end of our session, and this wraps up the first event of our Tech Talk series. As I said, this is a series to be continued. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much to the panelists, to our moderator. It was such a great honor to have you and to share all your insights. There's so much to take away. So I just hope that we're going to continue this series. If you would like to be featured, please reach out to me directly. And apart from that, I hope you have a great rest of your day. You learned a lot about the cloud, and stay tuned. Thank you all so much.